Join me today at Anglesey with the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship. Third place on the grid for the first of the races is the ever-improving John Langridge. Had some great races last time out at Silverstone. But on the front row, second place championship, Sam Smith, second on the grid. And championship leader and reigning champion Will Blackwell Chambers takes pole position. However, weather conditions are changing since qualifying, and we may end up seeing a repeat of what we had at Silverstone.
Thank you, Lloyd. And it's so difficult, the weather conditions out here, it's even taken its toll on the commentators. Will Blackwell Chambers and Sam Smith on the front row from John Langridge and Jason Greatrex. Brian Trott and Oliver Allwood from Clive Poles and Ali Bray. Rounding out the top 10 is Martin Tolley and Charlie Burge. Then Marcus Bailey and Teddy Clark. Paul Bateman and Adam Bessel. Sebastian Fisher and Stephen Foden round out the top 8 rows. Then Adam Craig and Paul Tucker with Ben Hansey, Matt Pollard, Chris Stapleton and Lewis Cannon all hoping to face the drop. Don't forget that in Mazda MX-5 Championship, the bottom 5 drivers across the line will go down to the B group, and the winners, the top 5 drivers across the line from the B group, will be promoted to the A. The 5-second board has gone up. We're going to wait for the red lights to come on atop the circuit. There they are. We wait for the race to get underway here at Anglesey, and it's a go. Brilliant start from the front of the grid for Blackwell Chambers. He's going to launch away, and nobody's going to challenge him into the first corner as they go through turn 1. Everybody nice and neat. John Langridge trying to cover the inside line and to hold off the attack from the 33 of Jason Greatrex. But Greatrex is going to have the inside line for the banking. And as they go through the right-hander, no problem at all for him to slot on the inside of Langridge. But Langridge is going to keep the car firmly planted to the outside line. We're on board with the number 5. Langridge is going to try and keep on the front position round the outside of Church. And he's there. Goodness me, John Langridge really rising to the occasion with that move. They get back on the power, and now all the way up along this long sweeping right-hand crest and up towards Rocket. Very tricky circuit, very tricky corner this Rocket, the hairpin on the first lap, as all of the cars still knitting their way up and over. Look at the sea in the background, it's a beautiful sight as they come around this Anglesey circuit, tied in for the hairpin. Ooh, careful gentlemen. Really tricky in the middle of the course, and as they get themselves back on the power, really exciting battles as they get into the braking zone now for Peel, and that's Teddy Clark about to have one at the inside. Adam Bessel looks like he already had one through as well. That's Steve Foden who got past him, so a really exciting first lap as Smith goes for the inside of Blackwell Chambers into Siemens and down through the bus stop. He holds on to the lead, so Sam Smith takes the lead off Blackwell Chambers through the first lap. Really exciting battles and an incredible tussle in these early stages as they come over the start-finish line to complete the first lap. So through turn 1 the drivers have come, and it's Sam Smith in front of Blackwell Chambers and John Langridge. Langridge really stepping up the attack, having dropped Greatrex. He's now wanting a race victory. So 3 very different drivers, Sam Smith, Blackwell Chambers and John Langridge, all scrapping away for the lead of the race. The reigning champion, Will Blackwell Chambers from pole position, in there with his main championship rival, Sam Smith, as they go out of Church, back on the power. This takes a long, long time to go up this back straight. Whoa, and up and onto the grass there goes Oliver Allwood, chasing after the man number 33, Jason Greatrex in 4th place. We're on board with Langridge, watching after Blackwell Chambers and Smith. They don't go for the overtaking move, they're just trying to stretch away from the rest of the field as up over the curbs in the left-hander. Now tucking through the long, very tight, very slow right-hand hairpin, back on the power. Now Langridge tucking in behind Blackwell Chambers again, into Peel. Careful of those bollards on the inside line. I thought Langridge might have clipped them there. You've got to be very careful when you tighten up. Look at that view over the sea. You can't get that in any other circuit in Great Britain as Blackwell Chambers defends into Siemens. Tight right-hander. Then you chop down over the crest, down the drop into the bus stop, through the right and through the left and back onto the main straight once again. It's the coastal circuit we're using rather than the longer international, which incorporates the Tom Price straight and the hairpin. But now they go through turn 1 to go into the 3rd lap, and this is going to be a tough battle for Blackwell Chambers to keep Langridge behind him. Here goes John Langridge. He's going to go for the move in the banking. Plenty of space to make the move. Blackwell Chambers isn't going to be dirty, and John Langridge through in a second. Very nice work there from the number 5. So John Langridge once again putting on a fantastic show in the Mazda MX-5 Championship. He's always so good at this, and he's got himself back in front of the number 1, the reigning champion and championship leader, Will Blackwell Chambers. Sam Smith out in front, but John Langridge isn't thinking about the man behind. He's going for the lead. He's got a great run out of the turn. He's going to get up towards Church. Well, he's come out of Church, sorry, up towards Rocket. Into that square left. He's not quite able to get there because that was well defended from Sam Smith through the tight hairpin. back on the power, patience on the throttle. John Langridge, well, he's not going to get a dive into Peel. That really is quite a tough overtaking move to pull off, but now he knows that he's faster than Sam Smith if he gets a good run out of the banking through Church and up towards Peel, so he can build on that. Down into Siemens, then down the crest into the bus stop. You've really got to be patient on the way through. Let the car do most of the work on the drop down, then get back on the power through the final corner and back onto the main straight once again. A really exciting tussle between these drivers as they duel for position. And that trio behind them is now Allwood, Greatrex and Brian Trott. Then that looks to me, is that Allwood? No, I think that was, I wonder if that's Ali Bray in the mix there. I think actually that could have been the 94 Charlie Burge having charged his way forward. A bit difficult to tell when we've been focusing non-stop on the top three. Whoa, Allwood really is liking the grass today as he puts two wheels on the grass out of the banking. Greatrex in 5th, Brian Trott for Team Trott, they're in 6th position. They come off the turn once again, puff of dust again as these guys pushing very much to their limits as they go through. Now behind them, that looked like Martin Tolley had moved his way through to 7th position. No doubt we'll pick up that battle as it develops. Leaders still line astern, no change from them. Allwood hanging on in front of Greatrex and Trott as they tussle for position. There's a battle for 1st position between the top 3. There's a battle for 4th between the next 3. So back on the power once again. Allwood hangs on in front of Greatrex. No major difficulties. Trott in there behind. 63, 33 and 83. Down the drop that overlooks the sea. We're looking towards the upper part of the circuit though, so we can't see the sea from this position. And then dropping down through the bus stop in the right and in the left. Fantastic circuit this at the Anglesey Toy Crease circuit. I absolutely love this part of the world, and this circuit is one of my favourite in Great Britain. If only the facilities were there, we could do British touring cars around this place. It is a proper driver's challenge, and what a venue. An absolutely incredible location for British motorsport. Into the banking. Back on the power. Greatrex hangs on in front of Brian Trott. A little bit of a tussle as they get back on the power once again. Now the leading 3 is starting to stretch away. Into the back of that queue is Blackwell Chambers, with John Langridge in 2nd and Sam Smith still leading. It's only a matter of time before Langridge gets a good run on Sam Smith and will want to go for the lead. In fact, it looks like he's getting pretty hungry for it now as we watch the battle for 4th place. Greatrex having dropped Trott a little bit and is now trying to back into Oliver Allwood up towards Rocket. No chance for an overtake yet. I think these guys just want to stretch out a gap and then go for the overtakes when the mood is right. This is a tricky circuit because it's only a few very small sections of the circuit where it's very tight corners, such as this one, Peel. The rest of it is very fast-flowing and fast-moving straights. The drop down into Siemens. That's Langridge all over the back of Sam Smith as he goes into the left-hander, then brakes down the drop of the bus stop through the right and into the left, the final turn. Very tricky course this indeed. We're right on board with John Langridge, this time looking in front of us. So Sam Smith is the man ahead. Langridge, if he gets a good run through the first corner, he can do what he did to Will Blackwell Chambers a couple of laps ago and get him on the way through the first corner. Up towards the banking, into the hairpin. Well, Sam Smith left it a little bit late to turn in. So we thought there was a whiff of an opportunity and they could be on the way out. So he's got him nicely lined up out of the banking, up towards Church. Patience, careful, careful, plenty of power, good line from both of them, but I think John Langridge is setting him up for the move in the slipstream. Now it's going to be about where Sam Smith positions the car to defend. That's how this race battle's going to be decided. John Langridge is going to commit, but Sam Smith, look, he's moved the car slightly over to the left, and that's enough to shut down any opportunistic moves from John Langridge. Good driving from both of them here. Sam Smith to defend, John Langridge to attack. They come off the hairpin and up towards Peel, up the climb, turn in, still climbing, then you start to descend as you look over the horizon. So the driver's still pushing very hard as they come through. Into the braking zone for Siemens, now hard on the brakes, down the drop to bus stop. And still, John Langridge all over the back of Sam Smith. It's not very clear which of these two drivers is going to get the upper hand over the course of this race. Fastest lap of the race so far, John Langridge on a 1:22.435. That's an average speed of 67.69 miles an hour around this Anglesey circuit. It's very fast, and it's, well, looking at the time we've got, it's a 20-minute race, of course, so I'm guessing, looking at the lap times we're currently on, we're in the midst of the 1:22s and 3s, I would say we've got 15 laps of this in total, roughly, maybe 14, depending on how fast these last couple of laps of the race are going to be. John Langridge has got a very good run this time on Sam Smith. Now it's going to be about where Sam Smith makes him go. He's going to try and go for the right side. Smith is guessing his every move. He's trying to get him a little bit second-guessed, but eventually Langridge is going to throw that up the inside. Smith is keeping him at bay for the moment, but as these two continue to duel, it's enough for Will Blackwell-Chambers just to sit there in third position and watch this all play out. Although Oliver Allwood is catching him, so I would not at all be surprised if Will Blackwell-Chambers is going to have problems of his own very soon. As Blackwell-Chambers is not going to want to lose too much time to these two up front. Meanwhile, further back, we've got this duel. This is Martin Tolley dueling away with Charlie Burge. So I knew that Burge was coming his way through pretty quickly. But Martin Tolley, fingertips touching on the doors. Hands out of the final corner, starting to charge after these guys in position. And in behind them, that looks to me like Sebastian Fisher dueling it out with the likes of Ali Bray and Teddy Clark. So a good little squabble behind these guys as well. Only 44 drivers this weekend. That seems like a massive amount of drivers to the layman. For Mazda MX-5 Championship racing, that's quite a slim grid actually. You usually get a good 20 more drivers than that. And obviously some drivers thinking that Wales is too remote for them to go racing. I disagree. If I had a Mazda MX-5, I'd be the first one in the paddock on Friday morning. Here comes Charlie Burge. He's got a good run on Martin Tolley. Tolley's absolutely opened the door and let him creep through. So now, there's not a lot Tolley can do except just sit behind him. Is that strategical? Did he want him to get through so that he can be the one who chases? Very different roles, the chaser and the chased, as they both have very difficult disciplines to undertake over the course of a race. But now Charlie Burge is the one who's being hunted by Martin Tolley rather than the other way round. The Masters victory still looks like it's going to go to Brian Trott as they continue to go out of the final turn. Burge versus Tolley. Really good battling between these two as they get back on the power and out through the first turn. Now dropping back a little bit further to keep an eye on the guys behind them. Well, that is the 81 of Sebastian Fisher being chased by the latest man to take over car number 26. 76 is that, sorry, yes it is 76, that is Ali Bray. Now last time out that car was being driven, I think that was the car of Hector Hurst, but this time it is Ali Bray who's in that particular car. So it's musical chairs in the Mazda MX-5s. Hey, is there a seat left for me at the season finale? I fancy a go. I don't think that's going to work somehow. I haven't even got my ARDS licence yet. So there goes the 76 of Ali Bray chasing after Sebastian Fisher. Teddy Clark and Ben Hans here in the background. Oh, someone's puffing the brakes. Now, was that Charlie Burge or Martin Tolley? Couldn't quite see who that was locking up under braking. But clearly somebody overcooking it in the way into Rocket. Now they come up the hill to Peel. So through the right-hander. It's amazing. When we get an onboard shot of those drivers going through Peel, you can see as they get to the top of the crest, they're looking out over the horizon. And that ocean skyline is absolutely amazing, even in muggy conditions. So they drop through the bus stop into the left-hand sweep and back out onto the main straight. Back with the leaders, and that's Blackwell-Chambers under some pressure now from Oliver Allwood. Smith versus Langridge still going on in front of us, by the way. No change there, but Allwood has been right on the tail of Will Blackwell-Chambers for the last lap and a half or so now. And I wonder if Blackwell-Chambers has got an issue because he's just not able to run with the leaders. The difficulty is if you're not close enough to really make an attack, or if the setup's not quite right, then you're a sitting target. And I think Oliver Allwood may be about to pressure Blackwell-Chambers to go for third position here. In terms of the championship, Blackwell-Chambers could really use a podium if his main rival Sam Smith's going to get a victory. Allwood is going to give him plenty of pressure. Big lock-up under brakes as Blackwell-Chambers desperately hangs on. Now he runs wide over the grass and Allwood gets him around the outside onto the hairpin. Well, both of them pushing a bit too hard there into Rocket, I think. A massive lock-up from Allwood, but he's through to third place. And that was not an illegal move at all, because he actually pushed Will Blackwell-Chambers into making a mistake. And I don't mean physically, I mean psychologically. Blackwell-Chambers overshot, and that was enough to give Allwood into enough space to get into third position. Now, the next target for Blackwell-Chambers is to get back into third position, but the next man on him is Jason Greatrex, and Greatrex's lap times have been pretty convincing thus far. 1:22 7s and 8s over the course of the last few laps. His fifth lap was his best so far, 1:22 7.7. So he's definitely got some good pace, Jason Greatrex, on Blackwell Chambers, who was a couple of hundredths of a second faster than that on the previous lap, and that's his best lap so far, 1:22.70. Whoa, Jason, careful, mate. That's not the racetrack, that's a bit of dust. So they come up towards Church, power through. Blackwell Chambers looking to get Oliver Allwood straight back again at exactly the same place, and Blackwell Chambers right off the circuit. Goodness me, 2 wheels on the grass. Greatrex nearly joining him in sympathy. Now, what's that going to do to the momentum? Is Greatrex going to get a final lunge? No, because Blackwell Chambers has moved to cover him. Now, looking at the way Blackwell Chambers has been dropping back from the first 2 and then lost out to Allwood and then dropped it there at Church, I wonder if he's got handling difficulties, because you can go one way or the other in terms of setup, depending on how cold you think the circuit's going to be, depending on whether it's going to drizzle through the race. And that's a big problem for the number 1 of Will Blackwell Chambers. He's got to be very careful. Oh, and Allwood locks up into Siemens. Get that stopped, get that stopped. Drop down the crest, through the right-hander at a bus stop, and that's going to leave you vulnerable for 3rd place, but at least you got it stopped before the car travelled too far across to the apex, and that could have cost him the place. But that just tightens up Blackwell Chambers and Greatrex in 4th and 5th. Brian Trott in 6th is a little way back, but he's got potential to move up. So they go over the curb through turn 1, up to the banking. Patience. Patience on the throttle. Now blast onto the power, and that's where you're going to get the best chance to go for the move up towards Rocket. This is all about the long game here. Into Church. Not a whiff of brake as they go through. They've maybe blipped the throttle, but that's about it. And now Blackwell Chambers has got a great run on Oliver Allwood. Again a puff of dust as they just flirt with that white line ever so tightly. And Blackwell Chambers is right in there with Oliver Allwood, trying to get his nose in. Allwood, same treatment that he gave to Blackwell Chambers the lap before, just moves across on the line. Blackwell Chambers is going to get him on the switchback, and he's back through in a 3rd. Great racing for Blackwell Chambers. That's why he's the reigning British champion in Mazda MX-5 racing. Brilliant. So Will Blackwell Chambers, Mazda MX-5 champion from last year in the Mark 1 brigade. He is the king of Mark 1s from 2017 and hoping to repeat the feat in 2018. Meanwhile, John Langridge, goodness me, he's climbing over the back of Sam Smith's convertible. They come off the turn again, back onto the main straight, and John Langridge is absolutely determined to find space on Sam Smith. Come on, man, get on with it or get out of the way. Down to the banking. You're going to have to try again, John, because Sam is clearly not going to give you anything for free in this race. Back on the curb, back on the power. Now, John Langridge looked like he got a slightly faster line through the banking that time, through Church. Blip of the throttle, but unfortunately those defensive moves a couple of corners before, it meant that Sam Smith's got a little bit of daylight now between himself and Langridge. How much ground can he make to get further? I was just caught out by looking behind them. That gaggle is still very close for 3rd. Langridge does not try a late move on Sam Smith. He's not going to do anything silly. Very mature, composed driver is John Langridge. He'd make a great GT racer at international level. He'd be a very safe pair of hands. And up towards the tight right-hander at Peel. Through on the curb. There's not a lot Sam Smith can do to shake him off. Langridge just keeps coming back. And look at that skyline, even in windy, cloudy conditions. That is a beautiful sight, looking over the bay. Down into the drop, through to the bus stop once again. And an amazing run this for these two out front. They have just checked out a good 6 seconds or so ahead of the rest of the field at this point. And the closing stages of the race approach. But this is exactly what these guys wanted. So Sam Smith out in front of John Langridge, but we're definitely getting close to the bitter end here. I'd say we've only got time for 2 more laps, and this is lap 14, so it is going to get 15 laps out of it. I wasn't sure earlier on, but I think we are just going to get the 14 laps out of this race. Look at how these two continue to duel. Sam Smith there in front of John Langridge, and Langridge knows that he's running out of time, so he needs to get on with this. He tucks into the right-hand side of Sam Smith. They're going to go door to door. They are side by side as they come down the back straight. Langridge is a nose in front. Smith is going to continue to break to the inside of Rocket. There's not a lot of space. They both drift out wide, but Smith is through. Now, that's fair enough, I guess, because they both wanted the same bit of tarmac. They both overshot. Smith did not force Langridge off the racetrack. They both wanted the same bit of road. Neither was prepared to yield. Racing incident, that's clean, that's fine. So Smith gets the place. Language in second, and he's got a lap and a bit to try and get back on terms with him. But that's how tough both drivers were pushing as they go for the overtake. Brilliant racing. So they're going to continue pushing as Sam Smith comes out of the final turn, and there is just one lap to go. So can John Langridge catch Sam Smith on this last lap? He was only about half a second back when they came across the line. So John Langridge knows now what Sam Smith is going to do if they get up into that hairpin again. So he's got to try something else. They come out of the banking, back on the power. Again, Langridge is so strong through that particular corner as they get back on towards Church. Through the right sweeper, blip of the throttle at most, no brake, back on the power. Use the aerodynamic draft on the back of Sam Smith, and John Langridge may get his chance. He's not as close as he was on the previous lap, but he's not going to give up. He may be able to go to the left side. Smith is going to defend to cover the left side. John Langridge is going to now tuck across to the right. Sam Smith moves to block the line, and now he's going to get alongside him. Langridge goes to the left, but it's a right-hand hairpin that comes up, so Smith gets to cover back on the inside. Langridge is going to try and get the undercut. Smith moves across. Great dueling from both of them. So Smith is going to go through Peel. Langridge has got just 2 corners left to do something about this. Down the drop. And unless Sam Smith makes a mistake now, I don't see this race going to Langridge, but he's going to push right to the death as they come through for the last time, through to the left, through to the right, a bit of a wobble, a twitch there, and up into the final turn, across the line. It's going to be Sam Smith who takes the checkered flag in front of John Langridge. What a battle between the two of them. Oliver Allwood is going to be the man who comes home in third from Greatrex. Where's Blackwell Chambers? He dropped behind all 3 of them. So it's Smith, Langridge and Allwood on the podium from Greatrex and Trott, Blackwell Chambers from Burge Tolley, Sebastian Fisher and Ali Bray in the top 10. That lap from John Langridge earlier on, never beaten, a 1:22.435 it remains. Clark and Hansey, Bailey and Bessel, Foden, Craig and Tucker, and then the 5 who dropped down sadly this time are Clive Poles, Paul Bateman, Lewis Cannon, Matt Pollard and Chris Stapleton. We'll see them in the second race for the B group, but it's Sam Smith who celebrates.
Sam, that points gap's closing now, isn't it?
It's coming down slowly, yeah. I'm still not focusing on it too much, just trying to win the race. I'll take a win from that and we can hopefully keep it up for the next 2 races tomorrow. So,
John, another podium place. You're starting to get to grips with this car now, and that could have been a top step really, couldn't it?
It was pretty close, wasn't it? Sam drove really well.